I rise in opposition to the bill. Let us face facts. The bill we are considering today has no chance of becoming law. It has already failed once, it will fail again. Republican leadership is aware of this, but they still have chosen to waste our time on political theater, while President Trump's aimless, endless, and costly war with Iran puts American lives in danger. Whether it is from crises abroad or masked agents at home, President Trump and Republicans are putting Americans at risk. Democrats are fighting to keep our communities safe, both from foreign adversaries and out-of-control federal agents. If the Republicans are actually serious about the threat that President Trump's war with Iran has caused, then they should move quickly to bring up my bill, which they rejected, which would fund FEMA, TSA, the Coast Guard, the Secret Service, federal law enforcement training centers, Science and Technology Directorate, the Office of Inspector General, Federal Protective Services, and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, while setting funding for ICE and Customs and Border Protection aside as negotiations on those issues continues. There is broad agreement on funding for these agencies. There's no controversy over funding disaster relief or aviation security, or making sure the men and women of the Coast Guard and the Secret Service are paid. What there is a significant controversy over, however, is how ICE and Customs and Border Protection have beaten, detained, harassed, and even killed law-abiding U.S. citizens with zero accountability. So I ask my colleagues across the aisle, why not allow funding for the parts of Homeland Security over which we have no disagreements to pass? Allow disaster relief fund to be replenished. Allow TSA and Secret Service agents to be paid. Allow the Coast Guard to support its service members. Ensure our cybersecurity measures are in place, while we continue to negotiate the reforms to ICE and Customs and Border Protection that the vast majority of Americans want to see enacted. Republicans have called these reforms radical, unreasonable. I would like to know which reforms specifically they feel are out of line. Let me tell you where there is a broad support for these, and do they oppose? Do they oppose prohibiting the detention or the deportation of U.S. citizens? Are they opposed to that? Are they opposed to requiring agents to get a warrant from a judge before kicking in someone's door? Are they opposed to removing masks, requiring badges and identification on uniforms? Are they opposed to prohibiting operations at sensitive locations like schools, medical facilities, houses of worship? Are they opposed to allowing independent investigations into wrongdoing? And are they opposed to ending racial profiling and ending roving patrols? Those are the discussions that are underway. Let us continue to do that. And are they really willing to block funding for the rest of the Department of Homeland Security because they believe so strongly that these armed federal agencies marauding our streets, armed and terrorizing our communities, they believe that they should be allowed to hide their faces as they patrol our streets? They believe that that's the case. Mr. Speaker, these reforms are fundamental. They are the same standards that law enforcement all across this country abide by. They protect our communities, they protect law enforcement, and they protect our basic constitutional rights. I encourage my Republican colleagues not to let their opposition to these necessary and overwhelmingly popular reforms stand in the way of funding the rest of the Department of Homeland Security, especially now, as President Trump's war with Iran has put Americans at risk. Thank you, and I reserve the balance of my time.